Okay, we have to decide how to split the various things. So we can decide, for example, to have circles there, and we go to have circle, let's say maybe starting from there, and then we start to have copy. I change also a little bit, you see the scaling. And for example, this one is more little, and then the other one. Okay, nice. We select all the shape. Let's go in a perspective, and we can move it a little bit there, and then we say extrude. We have no capping on both. Okay, nice. So let's select the first one. We have this one with no cutting, so extrude also on this one. Let's see if it's in the wrong position, so let's move it. Nice. Okay, so this one we'll have the pro cutter. So compound object pro cutter, and we say peak cutter. So we pick the other circle we just created, and then we pick the stock object. Okay, let's say to maintain everything, and we have our cloud. Then we go there and we set edit mesh and explode, and let's call it cloud piece. Now, so we have the cloud pieces there, and one is named circle, but we can pick the latest name there, Ctrl C, and select the last one, Ctrl V, and let's call it 10. Nice. So we can pick there and group, and we have cloud pieces, and save. Now we have to break apart also the logo. So there we can create maybe just some lines. So we can decide to have a line, and let's say something like that. So we have the first one there, and maybe we can use directly there. We use directly all the copies, but we need something more complex. So let's say that we have some slices over a line and over the other line. So maybe we can slice over this level. So we can imagine to have something like, let's say for example there, and then we have a line like this one. I used the Ctrl Shift to have a line, a precise line. So now we need to create some more copies. And to do this one, we can use directly the array. Let's see if we have this one there, or we can use the X key and let's write array. And let's set preview. We have to move it over the x-axis. Let's say something like that. But we need more copies. Let's say maybe something like that can be enough. And say okay. So we have the slices. In this way we have just vertical slices, but it is just a pattern. You can decide to create all the line you like, all the shape you like. So Then we have to pick all these lines. We have also a little bit too much lines, so let's remove some of it. Okay, nice. Let's select those lines, and from there we can move it a little bit back, and then extrude, and we have our line. Okay, so let's start from the first one. We go to have a Pro Cutter, and first of all we have to remember to pick this one, assign the material because it is simple. So there we add the possibility to pick the other cutter, and we pick all the cutter we have inside the scene. It can take a little bit to create the cutting this time because the scene is more complex and we have a lot of cutter. Okay, then we have to pick the stock object and decide to have and to retain the material, the original material. Okay, we should be able to have all the right things. We can make a test render to see if it is working, and as you see it is right, so cancel, and we can go to have the edit mesh, and we can explode in elements, and this one is the text piece. So the last one, let's go to select, let's say that this one, we have some layer. So this is the environment, and then let's select the all the light, and we have lights. Okay, we have also the target there, and we can assign to this one, and then we have all the pieces there. So we have a line 1, and the last piece is the 80. Okay, so copy, and let's pick line 1, and this one will be the 81. Perfect. So if we go to render, we should be able to still have the right material. Okay, and save. Now we have to animate the things. To animate the things, we have a simple way. You can animate everything by hand, or you can go in the particle system and use the particle view to create a particle system. Let's do the first one. We go with the right mouse button, new particle system, and particle flow. We use another bird event, the bird group, and this one gives us the possibility to pick, for example, this group. So add by list cloud pieces, and we say to separate the particles using the group members, and we remove the shape, and if we go, you see that there it is working. Obviously we have the gravity and all the other stuff, so we don't need it. We have to go inside the layer. We can select the cloud pieces and make a new group, cloud pieces, and hide it. So now we have just the particle logo, and you see that it is falling. But we go inside the word and we say that we have no gravity and no ground collision. So actually you see we have just a simple moving due to the interparticle collision because it is using the box. Let's say convex yield, and you see that we have still a little bit, but we'll change it later. So now we have to do something else. We have to do the same particles for the other, but I like to change something. Let's remove the spinning. So we have just not moving particles. We can use, for example, speed. And in this way, if we go to see, you see that the particles are moving away. If we go to see, you see that the particles are moving. Okay. Let's rotate this one by -90, and let's use less power. Okay, you see that the particles now are moving due to the collision. Let's say that we have more tolerance. Let's try with 25. We have still let's try to have a higher level because obviously these particles are really near to the others. Okay, in this way are not moving. Let's add again the speed. Okay, and you see that the particles now are moving. Let's say that we have maybe 300 frames. Let's say that the start is 0 and the end is 300. So the particles start there, and then you see that they are moving. Okay, nice. We have to do the same with the other. So let's select the text pieces. We make a group, text. And we make also a layer that's called text logo, and save. We can create another particle system like this one. So let's move this one there, and this one is rename PF cloud. So right mouse button, new particle system and particle flow. We can rename this one as PF logo. We need a bird group as we've done before, and the bird group will be this group. Let's say group member and update. Okay, so let's check the animation. Okay, you see that now it is falling down and breaking. We can go there and set to hide the text logo. So we have this animation now, you see, for the pieces. So first thing, we don't need for the moment the spinning, and we have to remove the gravity and the ground collision plane. So you see, actually it is happening nothing. And now we can go there and set the collision is the convex hull. And we'll have also the speed. We'll use the same one. So copy and paste. I use not an instance, so we can decide the parameters later. Let's go. And you see that it is going, but going on the other side. So we can decide to change the animation or to maintain this one. Let's go in the camera. You see that in this way it is forming, but we can have a camera animation. So let's select the camera so we can decide later as we have to work. That's the FOV. I like to say that maybe we have at frame 200 we have a key, and then at the beginning we'll have some kind of animation with the auto key. Sorry, I like to use the target camera. So animate, okay, but we have to do the contrary, because we'll use the animation. So there we need this one, and at, let's say, 250 or maybe 280, it needs time to create the logo, as you see, or maybe directly at 300. Okay, at 300 let's say that we have something like that. Maybe it is like that, and then we go in the contrary. Okay, you see that is forming, and we can do something like having the contrary animation. So let's go there, and let's say that this one is reverse and this one is reverse. So in this way you see that we have the particles moving on the other side. Okay, with the camera selection, let's go in the curve editor, and we have to remove a key, and we can have the beginning as linear. So back there you have to imagine the contrary animation. So you see we are moving with the pieces that are passing through the camera. So maybe we can just say that this is our animation. Okay, nice, perfect. So let's save. We have the animation of the pieces, we have the animation of the camera, and you have to imagine everything and the contrary. So let's go in the particle system, and we can have maybe just a little bit more variation on the logo. So you see we have more variation in the animation of the pieces, and they are moving also a little bit on the space due to the collision, and that's nice Maybe we can have also, let's say, a little bit of spinning. So you see it is rotating and moving in the space. Perfect. Okay, nice. So let's save. Now we need to cache the animation, and to cache the animation we have to go inside the word and say to cache and bake the animation, and then we have to say run baked simulation. We have to do the same for the other one. So there, select the MP word, remove updates and cache. Okay, now run baked, and you see that now we can run the simulation using the saved cache. Okay, we know the first frame. Let's go there and set the environment and the light visible, and back to save. And let's see what happens if we go to another frame like this one. Let's render a preview. So that's the render, and I like to tune up a little bit the Z depth. So let's see with the camera, and let's imagine that with the clipping plane we can see which is the far. So let's imagine that the far is, for example, okay, let's say maybe something like that, and the near is maybe there. Okay, so that's perfect, and you can see when the stuff are disappearing or appearing. Okay, remove the clip manually, and back again to the Z depth. So the first Z depth is set to the minimum, let's say 300, and the maximum will be 800. Let's see again. So you see that's the Z depth now. Let's see, for example, when it's going to something like that. We can do the preview also more little, let's say maybe 400, and there the bucket will be 24. Okay, it is working nice. We can tune up with later inside the compositing. So let's tune just the rendering, and let's go with the old one, the classic. So you can work on the old Mint Array and 3ds Max too. So save. We can try to render with a 16, maybe 1, and let's go for the Mitchell. And talking about there the final gather, let's go for a medium with just 1 bounces, and let's see at HD how much time it takes, and render. So that's the preview. As you see, I just removed the global illumination to speed up the rendering, and later we'll work on the compositing to see the final result. So now we can launch the rendering, and then we'll finalize the scene later.